why don't you tell us what's going on with actress Phoebe Dynevor and the fact that there just are no roles for hot young women anymore, apparently.
It's so hard to be a hot 28-year-old actress. So this actress, Phoebe Dynevor, is in Bridgerton on Netflix. She's promoting it right now. And in a recent interview, she said that it's hard to be a young woman in Hollywood right now because, as we know, they're prioritizing giving the big roles to older women in order to combat ageism. And this is the main point. When it comes to inclusivity, it's always a zero-sum game. When you give more roles and more jobs to underrepresented groups,
you take it away from another
You're
group.
taking it away from another person. That's how that works. You can't let, not everyone can win.
Lest everything become an ensemble cast where 90% of them end up in the background anyways.
Right, which is kind of the case for a lot of these Netflix shows.
Yep.
But here's what she said in a recent interview with the London Evening Standard. She said, there are limited roles available to women her age. She is 28. She said great parts are out there for male actors and older women, but not for female actors her age. Quote, I've read some great scripts recently. I probably shouldn't be saying this, but there is still not that many parts going. There's such a space for male actors. There are so many of them. They're all great. They're all very talented young men, and they do not stop working, and good for them. But, when I think about the girls my age, there's way more room for male actors, and there is still not enough room for us. It's a really good time for older women, which is amazing, and there's a lot for these young men, but not a lot for the actresses that I know in my age bracket.
Well, here's the funny thing. I was just like, let's Google Hollywood ageism and see what comes up. What could it be? So the first one, again, these are they go by year kind of. Ageism in Hollywood, the worst I've ever seen it. Women in Film Study highlights ageism concerns. 14 women who shared their experiences of ageism in Hollywood. Look, you can't win, ladies and gentlemen.
The kvetching about ageism in Hollywood, especially against older female actresses, is nonstop.
Yep.
You never stop hearing about it. Even though it's more inclusive toward them than it's ever been.
It's never enough.
And it's never enough. There's always more work to be done. And this girl, Phoebe Dynevor, she said, I probably shouldn't be saying this. And she was right to think that she would get backlash for saying this, because now everyone is complaining about it.
Michelle Yeoh is laughing at her somewhere, who also was complaining that Michelle Yeoh, who gets a lot of roles, is an older actress, was complaining about what roles she was giving.
They're never the right roles.
They're never the right roles. I don't want to play a grandma anymore. They say, I'm like, well, you're a grandma. You're old. What do you want me to do?
You'll play a teenager then.
And here's my problem with it. It's actually more the fault of Hollywood's lack of creativity and ability to write. You know why? Because they can write fairly competent, or at one point they used to be able to write fairly competent roles about grandmas and mothers. What interesting story are they going to tell about an old-ass lady that has none of those factors involved? Now, they did it with her. They did it with Everything Everywhere All at Once, though it still involves elements of that. For the most part, you're more hampered by the types of things they choose to make stories about than you are about whether they're actually going to give roles for women that are interesting. It's just that's not what sells. Whatever art house garbage you think would be fun to make isn't going to make them any money back.
Right. And that's not even to mention the fact that Michelle Yeoh has a heavy accent that she hasn't changed for any movies, at least not that I've seen.
Somebody mentioned Glenn Close. Look, Glenn Close had a renaissance in Hollywood several times over. If you have never seen Damages, go and watch Damages with her and much younger actress Rose Byrne.
Okay,
That was in 2007.
I'm constantly hearing about Jennifer Coolidge and about Jamie Lee Curtis and about Michelle Yeoh and all of these other actresses, Meryl Streep, all of them. They're getting plenty of work. And I think that this girl had a good point, and it's going totally over people's heads. Someone responded, not 20-something Miss Bridgerton saying it's a bad time to be a hot young actress and all the good parts are for older women, when this is demonstrably untrue, LMAO. Another one said 50% of roles are for pretty young white women. WTF is this?
We've talked endlessly on this channel about how we know for a fact that is simply not true anymore.
Especially the white part. Yeah. If you're white, you are going to have a harder time getting roles than if you're a minority.
We got a $20 one here from Mikey. Says, got a picture of her. She's not someone I know just by name. I feel this way about a lot of actors and actresses.
Well, that's the case for any of the younger crop of actors and actresses who they're not going to make it A-list.
This was one of my favorite responses on Deadline. Said, has no one explained to her the blame is on the sexism in the industry and the world as a whole, and not on older actresses getting parts as they should? And that the older actresses don't have a lot of opportunity, as it is well documented. My God, do 5 minutes of research before saying something publicly. And then somebody underneath says, she didn't blame older actresses at all. She said she's happy for older actresses having new opportunities. Really, how could you have misinterpreted this?
Well, she only said that because she has to say that, right?
Somebody says, I am personally extremely grateful that there are more older women because I too am an older woman, 52 in fact. Seeing women my age and older play substantial acting roles is a godsend. This helps us feel normal. It helps us feel included. It's a great thing. I hope it doesn't stop. If you need Hollywood to make you feel normal and included, you got bigger problems. I'm sorry.
I love seeing old, shriveled up, wrinkly women like me in
The best
movies.
part was the next comment down is like somebody, it's probably Dane hating boomers, who says, so basically your generation will never give young people any power in any capacity when clearly the world wants progress, but you won't let it.
The world is losing its mind.
Yes.
Another one said, F off, mainstream film production is like one of the only spaces where ageism is a legitimate concern, and I assure you, it is not because young people are getting the shaft. Maybe you just aren't good enough. Maybe you need to broaden your horizons.
Or maybe the actresses need better agents. They need to read for different roles and stuff like that.
You know what?
Also plays.
I think that Phoebe Dynevor needs to come out as bisexual or non-binary, shave her head, get some face piercings and some tattoos, gain a little bit of weight, and then Hollywood will be just breaking down her door. They will be calling her,
and
her agent will be too busy.
And we're mentioning like older women. This is not including the Jennifer Lopez's, the Sofia Vergara's, the Jennifer Beals, who don't even look their age.
Oh, yeah.
Who are in their 60s, who look like they're in their 30s. Who are still going to get roles and stuff like that.
And basically all of the roles that would have gone to women in their mid-20s are now going to women in their mid-30s. Yep. That's just a fact.
And so you as activists pushed for this, and now you're mad when it happens. Sucks to suck. Like you've also, but it goes back to you mentioned here that there was the article about like the creepiness, the age gap factor in all of this stuff. There's just all sorts of handcuffs, for lack of a better term, that are put on the casting now. Like you said, there's now going to be a Best Casting Director award at the next Oscars. I don't think it's this year. I think it's the year after, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So all these categories, everything today has been politicized when it comes to how a movie is cast, right down, not just to the ethnicity, not just to the race or any of this stuff. What is the age of the person? What is the background of that person? Do they have the requisite experience to be able to properly represent this character?
What is their disability status?
Yes, all of this stuff. And you think they're going to get all of this right all the time? I would much rather jump off a bridge than have to be involved in the
it's
10 years ago, 20 years ago, I would have loved to have been involved in the casting of Hollywood movies. I would have loved to have been able to be given like a blank check by a studio to work with a director to go find the best talent for each movie. That would be freaking awesome. It's never going to be that way again. There's too many rules.
All of those actresses you mentioned who are in their 40s and 50s, Jennifer Lopez, Sofia Vergara, Jessica Biel, you could even say like Jennifer Garner as well. All of these women, they look great for their age. They came up in Hollywood at a time when Hollywood still cared about actresses being hot.
Yep.
And now there's a war on hotness in Hollywood, such that all of the new young actresses are, unfortunately less attractive than their previous
I don't know if look. I
Counterparts.
I
No, that's true.
I believe that Hollywood focuses on less attractive actors now. I think that, like, when I think of an Ana de Armas, or I think of an Isa Gonzalez, when I think of even the one that I mentioned earlier, Isabella Merced, like, there's still plenty of beauty out there. But the ones that you're naming are the ones that rose to the top of their respective classes, right? They're the ones who set themselves apart and became true celebrities by name.
Oh, another Anne Hathaway.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think that there is a significant barrier if you're actually attractive and trying to make it in Hollywood. I do. I think that I think that you know, average or below average actresses and actors are being prioritized over attractive ones.
And the other thing is, like, maybe it's a little bit of that, but it's also just the overabundance of content being made means that nobody stands out. When most of these people are getting their shine off of a Netflix series or something that's a limited run on HBO, in a time when HBO doesn't have the same level of status that it used to, when it used to be a really, really big thing. I started rewatching The Wire recently. Michael B. Jordan is like 2 years old in that. Like, this is in 2001, 2002. Mm-hmm. He's an A-list actor now, right? Took time to build that profile. But there was a lot less opportunities back then. So with less opportunities meant that when you got one, if you stood out and you set yourself apart from the pack, it was a pretty good chance that you were going to make it in the industry. Now you can get a role on a big show on one of these streaming services and never really stand out from anything because there's just so much content. Nobody's ever
that's
see
the
it.
thing. Phoebe Dynevor is Netflix famous.
Yes.
I like that term because it's true. Like,
Yep.
I mean, Bridgerton is supposed to be one of the biggest shows on Netflix, and nobody you know has watched it. You haven't watched it, and nobody in your social circle has watched it. It's weird, right? You can be in all the headlines, and no one knows who you are.
10 years prior, it would have been Downton Abbey, and people actually watched Downton Abbey.
That's something that you could actually ask your friend about, and they were like, oh yeah, I did see the first season. That's not a thing anymore. Also, just last month, Emma Stone commented on this, ageism in Hollywood. She recalls an executive telling her it's a sprint, not a marathon for women in Hollywood.
Maybe 10 years ago, that would have been true.
She called that advice total garbage.
10 to 20 years ago and past, that would have been true. Not anymore.
Well, also, I mean, for someone like Emma Stone, maybe some people will disagree with me on this, but she's aged like 5 years in the span of 20 years.
Yeah.
And that means she can play younger roles still.
Yeah.
It's a case-by-case basis.
Yep.
And that awful diagram I sent you was about the half your age plus 7 rule and whether that bears out in Hollywood, you know, the relationships that are depicted in big movies.
The other day,
they showed like a creepy zone and then the half your age plus 7 zone, and most of them are in the creepy zone.
I was watching old episodes of Veronica Mars yesterday, and there's a scene where the character of Logan, he's a high school senior, and he's sleeping with his best friend's stepmom, played by Cordelia from
okay, not the same character, but the same actress.
Same actress, Charisma Carpenter, and during the thing, like during one of their intimate scenes, he basically like mentions that he's in high school, and she goes, "Could you not? It's giving me basically said you're giving me the ick." And then she's like, "You're the first younger guy that I've slept with," and the whole thing is just like played as completely normal because, you know, she's a trophy wife, so she's closer to his age, right? The whole thing, they definitely fall more in the creepy scale here for this one.
It's insane how we live in a totally different reality than some of these people, because they're all commenting like, you're white, you have tons of roles, yes, you're privileged, they're trying to cast white people, and it's like, have you been paying any attention?
No,
like every day we have a new example of the fact that Hollywood is explicitly anti-white and trying explicitly to not cast white people. And the only white people who are still getting cast are basically grandfathered in.
It would also be interesting to look at this graph. How many, like, they're showing you the actual age gaps between the actors and between the two actors. what if the character's playing an older character or the guy is playing a younger character, right? Is the age gap in the movie that they're playing as pronounced?
Yeah,
right?
I don't know. They showed
for instance, in American Gangster, they referenced Denzel Washington and the actress. I think that's based on a true story. So the age gap makes sense.
The non-creepy age gaps that they mentioned were from Mamma Mia, Pierce Brosnan, 55, and Meryl Streep, 59. And Before Midnight with Ethan Hawke, 43, and Julie Delpy, 44.
Look, I'm sorry, but it was Pierce Brosnan and who? And Meryl Streep? Pierce Brosnan, right now, looks infinitely better for his age than Meryl Streep does. Sorry. It's the fact of the matter.
That's kind of the way that nature works.
Yep.
Also, they mentioned Memento as not creepy because Guy Pearce is 33, Carrie Ann Moss was 33.
Entrapment, 39-year age gap.
Good Will Hunting because Matt Damon was 27, as was Minnie Driver. Titanic because Leo was 23, Kate Winslet was 24. So Kate Winslet is just on the cutoff for who Leonardo DiCaprio would date today.
Yep.
I just thought that was just a diagram, a graph from hell.
Yep. Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.